Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah, and today I wanted to talk about the movie Hellboy. Not the early 2000s version, the latest version that came out a couple years ago. I've seen the Hellboy movie and then Hellboy Golden Army movie as well. I've never read the graphic novels. I did not watch the cartoon series. I just couldn't get into it. Having said that, I am familiar with the character and the overall story. I was actually looking forward to seeing this new Hellboy because this new Hellboy has an R rating, which is a huge deal. To me, they understood that all of the characters are adults. They're dealing with supernatural beings in a hostile environment, in a hostile way. Like, they're often in confrontation, and yes, they will swear sometimes. Yes, there should be blood sometimes. It made sense for Hellboy to get the R rating because the character naturally, requires more room to me. Anyway, Hellboy is a demon that was summoned on Earth by Nazis during the Second World War because they believed that he would be the tool that they needed in order to conquer the world, basically. So the story begins in the past with a narrator who turns out to be Dr. Broom, telling the story of a blood goddess slash witch, Nimue, who almost destroyed all of humanity, and through the interference of King Arthur and Merlin was defeated, and her body cut apart and the pieces taken to different corners of the earth and hidden. It's a little funny, but inappropriately funny, because the scenes that you're seeing at the same time that this voice is narrating the story is scenes of death, the Black Plague, which Nimue is supposed to be responsible for, and that sort of sets the tone to me for the rest of the movie. It can be funny at times, that's inappropriate, extremely violent and gory, and just disgusting in some ways. Cut to Hellboy in Mexico, of all places, following a lead because one of his friends, who is an agent of the Bureau, has gone missing during an investigation. So he's trying to find him. And that is when we get the first view of Hellboy, who looks rough and ragged. You know, looks like he was chewed up and spit out, and has a very different look than the previous Hellboy. But his attitude and his demeanor and the way that he talks is the same. A little impulsive. His sense of humor is very dark, but he is also still empathetic towards people. So I appreciated that the core parts of Hellboy, he feels things about people, he has attachments to people, and that he feels a responsibility to defend those who can't defend themselves, and that he has a sense of humor about his situation. Those are the things that I liked about his character, and they kept those things, which I really enjoyed about the movie. I think the story is placed right before he builds his team. In the other movies, when the story starts, he has a team around him already. People that he works very closely with, his partners, other than just agents. There is someone who we don't find out about until later who this person is. There is a being that is going around and collecting her body parts in order to resurrect her for the purposes of revenge. Hellboy, at the same time, he is just doing his job. If there's a problem, he's just sent there to resolve it. He gets sent to the UK because of a giant problem that they're having there, and at the same time, that is where Nimue is sort of convalescing. During the course of the ferry trying to retrieve another body part, Nimue sort of interferes, and that's when they come into contact with each other. Her being resurrected and sort of like where her thoughts lie at this point, like 1,000 years from her first imprisonment. There's like a TV in the building where she is staying until she's fully resurrected, and she has access to TV, so she's been like watching TV and sort of learning from that. I liked so many different parts of it. I liked the character development. We got to meet Alice, who is a woman with psychic abilities that he rescued as a baby. Her coming in makes sense. Meeting Damio as a member of the MI6 organization. Of course, MI6 knows about the Bureau and what they do. It doesn't make any sense for them not to know. We originally thought that the Bureau was based in America, but it makes sense that other agencies would know of its existence, but not the public. Their characters coming in do make sense. Where my attention started to slide a bit is the story. We sort of lose our way in the storyline with the introduction of so many more characters. So in this version, which I guess does apply and include the previous films, all magical and supernatural beings exist. So across cultures and countries, whatever, they all exist. There is no like just these types exist or just those types exist. They're bringing in a lot more characters without context. That's the thing. For example, they bring in the giants, but they explain where the giants come from. Apparently, giants will randomly resurrect. Sure, okay. But then bringing in Baba Yaga as sort of the puppeteer or the mastermind behind all of this because she was blinded in one eye by Hellboy was really random. It was really random. During the movie, we find out that she was trying to resurrect Stalin's ghost, and that was why she was banished to another dimension. But that did not keep her powers confined. She was able to have an effect on reality in their world by bringing other people into her dimension and sending them out of her dimension. So it was really, you're bringing in all of these different these abilities and characters, but it didn't seem to really follow all the way through, because if she just wanted revenge on Hellboy, she could have just trapped him in the dimension with her. And that could have been the end of it, instead of this whole like masterminded plot where she has promised this the fairy his revenge on Hellboy, and in order for him to get revenge, he has to go around the world and collect the body parts of this blood goddess, and then she would bring about the end of Hellboy. Then there turns out to be a prophecy. So we're bringing in prophecies and fate, going back to King Arthur and Merlin, which, by the way, nobody mentioned that Merlin was buried in a mountain somewhere, that he was buried there as punishment. By who, they don't specify. Has been down there ever since, apparently is one of the undead or undying or however you describe that, and is just down there I guess until he's rescued. There's just so many moments like that where you're like, what? So Merlin was down there the whole time. I guess that other witch knew, but nobody else did and could rescue Merlin, because Merlin could have been helping out the Bureau this entire time. This is what I'm talking about. If it's, you know, a good against evil and all of that, then why was Merlin buried in a mountain somewhere if he was supposed to be King Arthur's homeboy and they defeated the Blood Witch, which stopped the Black Plague? And then it all comes back to Hellboy, because it always does. Guys, there's way too much going on, and that may have been the point. It may have been the point to just jam-pack a bunch of characters that we'd never heard of before. Maybe they're from the graphic novels and I'm ignorant and I don't know. The Lady Haddonfield and that group that Dr. Broom was a part of, and how they used to fight evil together and all of that. Just coming in out of nowhere and offering, you know, little juicy tidbits of information, things that indicate stuff from Hellboy's past that he doesn't know about. And what do they do now? We don't really know, because at that point they were just trying to get rid of the giants. Lady Haddonfield not predicting her own death was funny in a way, but also messed up. But out of everybody, I think she had the easiest death, I have to say, because that fairy was literally just like smacking body parts off of people. That was crazy. But I love the music, the soundtrack, all of the rock and roll music coming in, especially during moments with like a lot of action and stuff. Like when he was fighting the giants, that was cool. Giants, that was so nasty. But in line with the whole kind of style of the movie, after some of the credits, I think, is when they show that scene where they're breaking into some kind of building or something, and they found another secret society. They say another secret society, and they find Abraham's tank down there. And I was like, ah! And then you see his hand come up, and you're like, okay, so they changed the design of his whole thing too. And I was like, oh, okay, so they're going a whole different way about it. But it has been a couple years already since the last one came out, and I was expecting another one by now, because, you know, Hollywood is Hollywooding, and they're elbow deep in the whole reboot and rebooting with new sequels phase. Yes, I am talking about that Scream 6 movie that's coming out, or is already out as of the posting of this video, which I will be going to see. So it is still like a comedy, action, adventure, fantasy film. It does still have those things. In the first films, a lot of the comedy came from the fact that he kept being seen. He kept being seen in public, and there was this back and forth between the public relations person for the Bureau saying that no, this agency does not exist, and him wanting to be recognized for the things that he's done for humanity and being seen in public. I had questions when the movie ended. I had so many questions. Okay, so my camera overheated a little bit, so I'll be finishing up here. Yes, so the storyline, the plot and the storyline, I just felt like we're getting lost. But there are so many characters and so many details that I did want to watch it a couple times to see if there were things that I missed. I really enjoyed it. It's very entertaining, but there were a few things that snagged for me, things that we didn't need to know, things that I wanted to know more about. For example, the lobster. Who is he? Like, they sort of mentioned that he's a huge hero during that time and that he's dead. And it's very clear that Hellboy kind of idolizes him. This is a very exciting development, him just showing up. And although we only hear him mentioned like maybe 1 or 2 times, it's like, who is... That's interesting. So I thought that they were saving it for another movie, but I don't know if they're going to make another one, guys. We'll see. We'll see. David might be busy filming that last season of Stranger Things, which I really, really hope comes out soon. Yes, they got me with Stranger Things. But I'll talk about that in another video. Thank you guys for spending your time with me. I so appreciate it, and I'll see you all next time.